Hi, everyone. Welcome to Test Chamber. I am Wojcik. I got Matthew Bertz here.
How you doing, Wade?
Good. We are checking out some brand new Division gameplay that we got to check out yesterday, but we are publishing today. This was you playing the... What mission was it?
This is an early mission where we're actually, if you can see on the screen, that is Madison Square Garden.
All right.
So we're kind of right in the heart of the city. This is pretty early in the game. We're at level 4. So if you look at what I've got going on there, the health bar is kind of the big orange bar in the middle. You can see my ammo count, and I only have one special skill at this point. You can usually use 2, like Destiny. They're tied to your triggers, or I'm sorry, your bumpers. I have 1 right now, Sticky Bomb. So we're pretty early on. This is a mission. We're basically on the hunt for a doctor that we need for our base of operations.
Okay.
In the middle of the city.
So is that something like you go and find people to bring into your base, and they're just there helping you throughout the game, right?
Exactly. So the way the base is set up, it's kind of like in our grand building scenario, like maybe an XCOM, where you have this base and you're gonna keep putting in more resources into it, and that's gonna in turn develop more skills for your character.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of divided into 3 wings. There's the medical wing, which we're trying to service right now. We're trying to find the doctor. There's the tech wing, and then there's the security wing. And each of those kind of has its own built-in narrative. Yeah,
no, this is interesting. You can scope in, despite it being a third-person kind of cover-based shooter. How did that feel in gameplay?
It's not that different if you've played old Tom Clancy games. That's going to feel familiar to you. But one thing you've noticed probably immediately is, unlike most Tom Clancy games where like you shoot a dude in the head, they die immediately.
Right.
This game is super bullet spongy. This is going to play way more like a Borderlands or a Destiny than it is a Rainbow Six or a Ghost Recon.
I was noticing you were getting damage points in the hundreds there, but it took quite a few hits to take him down.
Yeah, I asked Massive why they decided to kind of go this route, and their answer is this game is a role-playing game first, and a first-person shooter or third-person shooter second. So the reason they're doing that is so they can develop all these skills and a sense of progression that your character is going to get as you level up to the level 30 cap.
Now, was it the case where, depending on where you aim on the enemy, it'll do more damage? Like,
yep, there's still location-based damage, but it's just, like you're going to have to put 50 bullets into a guy sometimes to bring him down. And it's, like that's pretty easy to create a suspension of disbelief when you're playing a game like Destiny or a game like Borderlands, because there's like these weird monsters and mutant dudes or whatever. It's weird in this game when it's like a garbage man from Brooklyn that you're doing that to. So it definitely requires a suspension of disbelief on your part.
Now, what are you doing right now?
So right now we're basically working our way through Madison Square Garden to find this doctor that is holed up in one of the factions that's in the game. They're called the Rioters. They're kind of a loose collection. They're a headless organization. They've taken over this building and they're gathering its resources for their own use.
Cool. Now, how big was this level? How many battles did you have to go through?
There's probably 3 or 4 really good ones, and in like any, non-instant space, like this is all hand design. You can tell like they've gone to great lengths to hide an ammo crate over here or like some loot over here. You're gonna notice some loot discovery and loot pickup. Like right now, I'm gonna go over here and find a box. So one of the cool things about this game, there's no load.
Wow.
So whether you're walking into a mission or into your base of operations or into the dark zone, which is that PvP free-for-all space, you are not going to see a loading screen. You're going to see like some slowed down walking. But right before you enter one of these scenarios, there you'll see like there's a little icon you can engage with, so you can like team up with people if you want. And if you team up with people, then it seamlessly integrates them into your world.
Really? Did you get to try that out?
Well, we had our party together, so we didn't really see that. We had our group of 4 already hanging out together, so I didn't see that happen. But so they're just going to pop into your world gradually, and the battles scale depending on how many people are in there.
Okay, sure.
So rather than just kind of throw arbitrary stuff at it, they actually hand designed each mission based on whether it's 1 person playing, 2 people, 3 people, or 4 people. So they're not only varying like the difficulty of the enemies, they're varying where they're placed, and they're varying the types of enemies.
Yeah. Now, I noticed, we saw during this last year's E3 demo that the team was about to engage an enemy just like this, but they found some real players just before they were about to attack, and they ended up teaming up. How likely do you think that is to happen?
That is not in this. So basically, the world's kind of divided between PvE and PvP. This is a PvE space where you're completing missions that have been handcrafted by the designers. Once you enter in the dark zone, that's where you're going to see other players, and you can either team up or betray each other. So they are kind of separated, which I think is good because the dark zone is kind of a crazy proposition, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be super frustrating if you go in there and find super rare loot, only to have a bunch of guys usurp it from you after they kill you.
Just a big Wild West zone.
Yeah, exactly. It is very much Wild West, and they say it's going to be self-policing. Like, there's basically a GTA-style wanted level that goes up as you're, going rogue is what they call it in the game. And so the higher that gets, the higher the bounty is on your head. So it's kind of a self-correcting system.
Gotcha. What do you think of the interface here? All the little data points and the bobbing of the display next to your character.
For me, there's too much UI. I'm not really a big UI guy. I don't like my screen to be filled. It reminds me a little bit of Watch Dogs, which had a lot of things going on too. The nice thing is there is going to be some customization for players for that stuff, especially on PC, where people are going to be able to do their own UI customization.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I like my my displays to be in the corners, kind of out of the way.
Yep.
I mean, I could see their line of thinking where you want your important information close to where your eyes are, in the center of the frame. But I could see how it kind of gets distracting.
Yeah, definitely. So this kind of shows off the variety. We've been through a lot of different spaces, some that are vertical, some that are more old school. So like if you look over to the right here, you can see the stadiums down there.
There's the basketball court. What was this area repurposed as, once civilization collapsed?
It was a medical facility, and that's why it was a big target for the rioters.
Sure.
They want to go in and get these supplies.
Okay, so you're planning an attack here, it looks like.
Yeah, getting a count. So basically there's an auto marking system as you aim your reticle on a guy. You're going to mark it for everybody to see. Or there's one of the skills on, I believe, the medical path is a pulse that will basically detect enemies in the area.
Wow.
So we just saw a pulse go out right there. So a bunch of more guys turn red. So here goes the firefight.
All right. Does it incentivize you to try and use stealth to sneak up and be more strategic, or can you just...
It still has that Tom Clancy thinking man's element to it, where before you start a firefight, you can definitely plot out a method of attack. But as you're going to notice as this goes through, the AI isn't particularly smart in this build. I found a lot of times they wouldn't even notice that I'm shooting them in the side, really close to them, because they're fixated on one of my other teammates that's a little bit further away.
Right. And in your team, there's no AI, it's just the four of you.
So this is the smart bomb, the sticky bomb. I throw it over there, and I can auto-detonate when I want.
Cool.
I love that. That's one of the better gadgets that I played with.
Very much like the remote detonator a la GoldenEye.
Yeah.
What's the 4? Is that his level?
That's his level. Okay. So it's a really easy indicator to see if you're getting into it with somebody that's a little bit more aggressive.
And they're the same level as you, so it's kind of a fair fight. If they're a high enough level, is it like a question mark so you can't see what level they are?
You usually, once you spot a guy, you're going to know what their level is, and you're going to know when you need to get the F out of there, because especially in the dark zone, it starts from... As you go from south to north in the dark zone, the enemies are going to get harder. So there was a couple instances where we were rolling as a level 8 and ran into some level 14s, and those are brutal battles. They take a lot of damage, and you can't take very much.
When enemies scale up in level, is it not just like health and their damage, but also like what weapons they use that are more effective?
Yeah, and you're going to notice that they have better gear, both in terms of weapon, like guns and armor and stuff like that.
What was that? Was that a grenade launcher you just used?
That was the same sticky bomb. So I can throw it. I can fix it. If you land it on a guy like Halo, it will stay on the guy and you can detonate it.
Awesome. So
like this guy's like completely unaware that I'm shooting him right there.
Not a very strategic move. They're climbing out. They're very aggressive. They're not interested in getting cover.
Yeah, there's definitely, certain types of enemies, just like a Far Cry or a Destiny. There's going to be guys who charge in for melee.
Yeah. The little square pixel things that you see when you aim, I guess I'm not seeing them now, but...
I switch weapons to the shotgun.
Okay, so what was it? Was that just a feature of the assault rifle you had
That's
before?
the particular scope that I have. So the weapons are pretty customizable like you would expect in a Tom Clancy game. You can change the underbarrel, the grip, the muzzle, the scope. There's going to be a lot of that loot that you're going to find in the world.
The escort party's taking heavy fire from the roof.
So who's this talking to you? This Fei Lao.
Fei Lao is one of the first operatives you meet in the game. She is on a helicopter with you as you're coming into the city, and or coming from somewhere else in the city. They didn't really explain that in our demo. And she's a little banged up, so she's back at the base and basically serving as your eyes and ears. Now this is really cool. Now we're up in the catwalks above the Madison Square Garden field. It's the court. It's really cool.
This is a pretty big zone for a mission.
Yeah, the missions, the two that we played are pretty involved. You know, they're not going to take you 15 minutes to complete. They're going to maybe be more in that 45 minutes, half hour range.
Right, and you know, we had to, as clearly indicated through the video, we had to kind of cut it up to fit it into 15 minutes. It went along quite a bit longer.
But this is kind of you get the sense of the pacing for these missions. You're going to go from a big kind of arena fight to these areas where you can explore a little bit, and you're going to find intel about what's going on in the world. You're going to find some loot.
Yeah, and if you replay these missions, is it basically kind of like Destiny where you can farm the same loot over and over again?
You know, I'm not sure, but I do know that you can replay at a higher difficulty level if you want a bigger challenge. And I'm assuming that usually comes with better loot, right?
Yeah. Interesting little indicator of where to go there. Little line.
Yeah, so your team can actually put those out when you're in the open world.
I was wondering if that was automatic or someone was controlling that. We have an agent on the roof. And this is leading up to the last fight, right?
Yeah, this is the grand finale on the top of the garden.
Helicopter out there. No respawn zone. Okay, so if your teammates start going down and you all die, what happens?
I don't know. We were too good. We didn't find that out, but I'm assuming you'd have to restart right before the no spawn zone like a Destiny. So they're clearly engaged with that chopper that's giving us cover. And like, look how many guys are out here now. So like I said, this will scale. If you're one person that's up here, and this game is totally playable as a single person. I did kind of venture out on my own to see how that stood up. And you can totally play the PvE space as a single player game should you want to.
And they scale it back depending on how many players are in.
Exactly. So one thing you're going to notice with the movement, it does get a little janky from time to time.
Yeah.
You're going to sometimes get caught up on objects when you're trying to go into cover or pull out of cover. So you got to kind of be aware when you're around boundaries.
What's the melee like? I saw just a minute ago you tried meleeing that guy.
It's not super powerful. You know, you're going to want to save the melee for when a guy's pretty close to death, and if you're fighting a high-level character, you're going to sit there and punch him for a long time. So here's one of the mini-bosses, Hutch. You see he's a level 4. He's got that extra bar over his health bar.
Yep.
That is his armor.
Can you upgrade melee weapon? Because can you get like an axe or, there's a bat. Can you use that? You know,
I didn't actually see a space for that in the inventory, but that doesn't mean it's not in the game. There's still some time. Like, here's the melee guys just running.
Yeah, they're coming at you with bats. You got a shotgun. Not a great idea there.
It sucks to be recruited to be that guy on the Rioters team, you know? Oh, you get a baseball bat. We have guns. So as you see, I was switching through my weapons there. You are basically saddled. You have 3 weapons at any given time. You have that are equipable.
Right.
But you can always carry more in your backpack and pop into your menu and swap out like that should you want. And the same goes for skills. Unlike Destiny, which there's basically the classes and subclasses, this is a classless game. So if you want to basically build up all the different skill trees and then be versatile and switch on the fly, you can.
So you kind of basically design your own style of play, your own class almost?
Exactly. And then you can kind of judge with your team. Like if you're running into a mission where there's a lot of heavy resistance, you might want to bring more than one person who has medical benefits. Or maybe you want more than one person who has like artillery, like heavy guns, turrets and sticky bombs and things like that.
That's awesome. How long did it take for you to kind of get the rhythm of the gameplay and kind of sink in with the controls?
Not long. I mean, you're going to find, I feel like the recoil is pretty high, and I don't know if that was just because of the weapons I was using, but the short controlled burst is definitely a thing that I got used to pretty quickly. It doesn't take long, though. The one thing, like, grenades are not instant access. You got to hit the D-pad to activate the ability to throw a grenade, and then you hit the right trigger to let them loose.
Okay.
So there are a couple extra steps to combat that you maybe wouldn't find in a pure shooter.
Right. Yeah, when I see, going back to the interface, when I see interfaces like this full of numbers and stuff, it's kind of daunting for me to learn.
Yeah, and you notice the loot is totally like a Diablo or a Destiny. You're going to grab some
Yeah.
whites and greens that are low level. The purples and oranges are going to be the higher level stuff.
Is it like Destiny where, all the loot you see is just for you? Or do you got to split it up?
Everybody gets their own
with
loot.
everyone else?
Yeah, everybody gets their own loot. So there is a little bit of that's going on in the game. So you don't feel like you get aced out by a guy who got over there quicker.
Cool. Well, that's our 15-minute look. Bertz, thanks for sitting down with me and going over some of the new Division gameplay.
No problem. And you guys can maybe try yourself if you get into the closed beta that starts January 28th.
All right. Thanks for watching.